Did you know that you can make your own mushroom farm
and turn it into these amazing hoisin mushroom enchiladas?
What's up guys, my name's Elliot from Urban Farm It. I'm mad about mushrooms and today I'm going to show Alessandro how to grow in a low-tech way at home. Well, you might remember the last time that I was down visiting Alessandro, we looked at some alternative methods for growing mushrooms in your garden in an urban environment. We covered log growing, bed grows, growing wine caps in pots, all sorts of things. Today we're going to look to try and turn this blank canvas into another exciting growing style. We're going to try and adapt a build-it-yourself greenhouse to house mushroom fruiting blocks. If you've followed any of our content, you've probably heard me banging on about how you shouldn't try and grow mushrooms in a greenhouse. That's basically because of light exposure and temperature fluctuations between day and night. So although we're kind of bucking that and we're going to have a go of a greenhouse today, we're going to try and select the correct location and make specific adaptations to it to make it suitable for mushroom cultivation. You always want to try and find a north-facing spot. Traditional gardening, it's south-facing to make the most of the light, but what we want to do is try and choose a nice shady, cool part of the garden. To produce the best environment for our mushrooms to grow in. The first one is temperature, the second is humidity, and the third one is fresh air or a lack of carbon dioxide, however you look at it. A simple structure like this for in the garden is a really good starting point. And what we're going to do to this is cover the outside so that we don't get any direct light into it. That'll help with drying out the mushroom block and help to maintain temperature. We're also going to drill holes in the outside of the structure, particularly low down. So carbon dioxide sinks, so it makes sense if you want to get rid of it that you put your holes quite low down to the ground. This structure has got quite a lot of holes in it anyway around the joints, so don't worry too much about adding any near the top. And finally, humidity. You could go as far as adding a solar humidifier or something like that, or if you want to do a passive approach, then just put some kind of aggregate material, possibly bark, possibly gravel or perlite, something like that, in the base. Then when you wet it, the evaporation will maintain that lovely humid environment for your mushrooms. If you're setting this grow up somewhere where the ground does drain well, then you may wish to put a tray or something similar in the bottom to hold your moisture there. Today we're going to be using a mushroom fruiting block, and what that is it's a whole load of mycelium that has spread throughout a substrate, maybe sawdust or something like that, and digested all of the nutrients. All this is now waiting for is the correct conditions to begin to flush. If you do a little bit of research, for example, you could go onto our website and we've got all the growing information there. You can be a little bit strategic with how you stack your blocks. We learned earlier that CO2 will sink to the bottom of a growing environment. So for something like a king oyster that's more tolerant of, then you can place that block down the bottom, whereas something that requires lots of fresh air, like a pink oyster, you'd prefer to put up at the top.
So now that it's all set up, the only thing that you need to do to maintain your mushroom farm is to keep it soaked and moist. So come here a couple of times throughout the day, spray it and wait for those nice mushroom pins to form and pick up your mushrooms. We had this going for a while. We added up some varieties of mushrooms and I'm just gonna open it up and see how it looks like now. So as you can tell, we got some amazing mushroom fruiting all over the place. We got oyster mushrooms, reishi on the top, shiitake, pearl king oyster at the bottom, and it all looks absolutely amazing. And I'm just gonna pick up some mushrooms now as they're ready to harvest, take them to one of my close friends, Derek, who's going to cook them and make something absolutely delicious and fully plant-based.
Hey, look at that. Amazing. What a treat to have some of Spicy Mustache's harvest. Let's take these mushrooms and make some mouth-watering, hoisin duck-inspired enchiladas, featuring the star of the show, these delicious, fresh-grown mushrooms. First up, we're going to prep the yellow and brown oyster mushrooms. We're going to remove the petals from their stems or any bits that might be too hard to chew, and for the shiitakes, we'll slice them. For the king oysters, we're going to shred them to replicate that pulled duck texture. Once we have them all in a bowl, we'll toss them with the neutral flavored oil. Today I'm using a brown rice oil, and also I'm using a little bit of Chinese 5-spice, garlic granulars, and onion granules. I'm going to mix these all together, roast them in the oven at 200 degrees Celsius or 400 degrees fan for my US friends for about 30 minutes until they turn crispy and full of flavor. We'll check them halfway, give them a quick stir, and then pop them back in the oven. Perfect. While the mushrooms are roasting, in a medium sauce pot, we're going to combine the ingredients to make the hoisin sauce. The brown sugar, soy sauces, vinegar, sesame paste, fermented soybean paste, a little bit of sesame oil, some 5-spice, chili flakes, and grated garlic. We'll mix in a little bit of cornstarch and water to help it thicken as it heats, and the sauce will be perfect. The mushrooms are looking great. Now let's make the wasabi mayo. By combining water with wasabi powder in a bowl to form a paste, we'll then mix in the mayo. It just gives it that creamy, zesty goodness, and the wasabi mayo is all about bringing some smooth, spicy twang to these enchiladas. Once we're done with the wasabi mayo, I'm just going to chop up some cucumbers fresh from his garden and also some green onion. Perfect accompaniments for these duck hoisin inspired enchiladas. These mushrooms look and smell amazing. They're all done. So once the mushrooms are finished roasting, we're going to toss the mushrooms in some of the homemade hoisin sauce until they're fully coated and irresistible. A light coating of oil on the casserole dish, and then we're going to grab some soft tortillas and generously fill each one with the hoisin mushrooms. Wrap them or roll them into delicious enchiladas. Line them up side by side on the casserole pan, brush them with a little bit of sesame oil just to help crisp up that edge, and then we'll pop them back in the oven for 15 minutes to finish them off. Once out of the oven, we're just going to use the squirt bottles we filled up the hoisin and the wasabi mayo with, make some cool designs on top. Side by each, we're going to put the cucumbers on one side, the green onions on the other, garnish it with the chili. I like that chili's for me. And enjoy. These are amazing. You're gonna love them.
I hope you liked today's video, and if so, please subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next week for another episode. Thank you so much for watching.